have not talked about the secondary plot. I'm going to talk about that now. You got Sethi and Lucian. They're travelling around together, and occasionally you meet these other two characters who are my absolute favourites, and I love them dearly. They're called Pep and Mortem, and they are following their own little plan. Oh well, Pep is, and Mom's along for the ride. He doesn't really know what's going on. And this is all being orchestrated by the Maiden, who is one of the three vessels for the god of the moon. She's the god of the waning moon, so she's the god of the past. And her sister, Ursula, the crone, she's the god of the waxing moon, she's the god of the future, so she can see into the future, and she has these prophecies. And she tells the Maiden this prophecy of... So she tells the Maiden that Sethi's going to die. Sethi's not going to be able to beat the vessel on Doomsday. They're going to die, and the world will end, and that's bad. So the Maiden's like, oh God, gotta stop that. That's bad. And she comes up with this plan because there's, obviously because it's a fantasy world, there's a realm of the dead, and so when Sethi dies, they're going to go to the realm of the dead. And the Maiden is also the god of like medicine, so she has the power to cure people. And she's like, what if I had the power of resurrection? What if I could bring back Sethi from the dead? And she figures out by her own various means that to do this, she's going to have to die. She's going to have to be there when Sethi's in the realm of the dead in order to bring her back to life. Another big thing in the world is this idea of cycles, sort of things that repeat. This big thing of history repeats itself, and you gotta break the cycle in order to get great change. And this whole killing the vessel every 500 years, that's one cycle, that's the biggest cycle, and this is the cycle that the Maiden wants to break. She wants this to stop happening, for these vessels to stop being born and to stop killing each other. To stop killing each other, then the world will stop like rocking back and forth in balance and be able to be in balance. Like, in order to break one cycle, we gotta... Well, it's never been proved that you can break a cycle. She's like, I'm gonna set up some cycles and then break these cycles. And like once you break, it's like the butterfly effect. Once you break one small cycle, it'll spiral out of control until you break the biggest cycle, and then you'll save the world. She's doing a bit of research, and she finds this book, and this book has been written by the first White Knight. So this comes back to what I said earlier when I got sidetracked. After Kronos had died, they made these puppets and created these new sort of beings that were like a god contained within itself. So it no longer needed to reach the earth to get the emotions it needs in order to fuel itself. Like, because it's within a puppet, if that one puppet fuels these emotions that the god needs, then that's enough to fuel it, and then that puppet will get the powers and be a powerful weapon. So she makes two. There's also a third one, but they're not a puppet. It's a whole thing, not necessary to talk about right now. One of these puppets is called Apophis. He was a puppet that was imbued with the remains of the snake god, the god of happiness. So in order to get his power, he either has to feel happy himself, or he has to make others around him happy. Apophis' story is a little bit of a tragedy. Kronos, so she doesn't view these puppets as living, breathing things. She just views them as weapons, and so therefore she treats them as weapons, and so therefore she teaches them the best way to use their powers, but which isn't necessarily the best thing for them. So with Apophis, she teaches, because they'd be like fighting and that, she teaches him to be very selfish, to make himself happy in order to make himself more powerful. So he's like not a nice person to the people around him. And he also teaches him, you know, like when he's fighting, to like smile when he's hurt, so he gets the fuel to carry on going, and then, you know, smile when he does something successful in a battle, which obviously is sort of not the best thing. Like, you can imagine him sort of like manically laughing when he's like beating up people, and after a while he just sort of gets sick, because she uses her shadow powers to create these like illusions, and she has them fighting these illusions again and again and again, get stronger, and after a while he's just like, nah, I'm done. I'm gonna make a portal from this realm back into the world. I'm gonna leave you. And that's what he does. And he ends up in the city of Sol, in the Sun Nation. And this city has had a bit of problems at the moment, because the vessel, Lisa, how the vessel for the sun god is chosen is whoever the sun god deems is the strongest. And Lisa's just been beaten up by the archangel Ra, and so now she's no longer the vessel for the sun god. Now Ra is, and that's bad because he's an archangel, and so now he's enforcing loads of these angels controlling the people in this city. They want their old leader back. And so Apophis turns up. Kronos has been teaching him to fight angels, because that's her enemy. That's what you need to fight, because they're on the side of the White Knight. So he's like, I know, these are the things I've been trained to beat up, so I'm going to beat them up. And obviously that gets him arrested and put in the cells. And this just so happens to be in the cell next to Lisa. And they start bonding. They become friends. They might even become more of that, or at least that's what she thinks. But he's too selfish to see that, and so that doesn't end well. But yeah, but they start plotting about taking back the throne from Ra, challenging him again. But obviously being like, yeah, you might be stronger than me alone, but my strength is through like my people's support and this guy who I think I love support, even though, yeah. And so they plot this, and on the day of this rebellion, they go up to the Sun Temple. They start fighting Ra, but obviously Apophis is selfish, so he wants to become the vessel for the sun god. So he betrays Lisa. When they have Ra on the ground, they've defeated him, and she's about to take back her authority. He pushes her out of the way, and he tries to take it, and she's obviously like, oh my god, what are you doing? And so because he betrayed her, she then betrays him, because they blocked off the room so the angels couldn't get in, so they could beat up Ra. And she unblocks the room. They storm in, and they capture Apophis, and Apophis is taken. But then they've seen his powers, and they're like, these aren't elemental powers. This is from a god that we thought we killed. So he's then brought to the White Knight, and he's like, oh my god, this guy's body is made out of shadow powers. So therefore Kronos has made these weapons. Oh my god, I need to make some too. So then he starts experimenting on Apophis, and he creates his own 3 puppets, and they're also antagonists that you meet. Well, 2 of them are antagonists, one's sort of there. And so you'd fight them later on. And this is what the maiden reads about, because the White Knight has written down his experiments on Apophis and Apophis' story, and so she's like, what if I go get him? What if I go get him? So that's what she does. She creates a portal up to heaven. She goes and finds him, and he's sort of just been left there because they no longer need him, but they also can't kill him because they don't have the great sword, and since he's like got God remains in him, they can't kill him, so they're just sort of left in there. But they find out that they can because they can die if they no longer feel the emotions to feel the god remains inside them. And obviously he's not particularly feeling very happy right now because he's been experimented on and then left to die. So he's sort of dying when the maiden finds him. And she's like, she gives him 2 choices. I leave you here and you die, or you come with me, but you accept the fact that you're no longer going to be yourself, because I can't save you now. You're too far gone. You're going to die, but what I can do is I can, because I'm the god of the past, I can erase the memories of the past from you and everyone else that was in your life. And so then you'll be born anew and you'll become a new person. And he's like, you're still the same person because I'm erasing that. Like, I might erase that story, but I'm not going to erase your fate, because that's a cycle. His life is a cycle. And so if I erase all that, then his life will repeat again, just only now and then with different people. So the same sort of thing's going to happen again. He's going to have a bad mother. He's going to find someone who loves him more than he will, and then he'll betray them. And then that will repeat again. And he's like, both of them's choices kind of sound bad. So I'm going to make a third option. Yes, you're going to erase my life. But when you erase this new me, you're going to tell him my story, but not tell him that it's my story. And so when events start repeating, he's going to be like, oh, things are repeating, I'm going to make different decisions. And the maiden's like, actually, that's a good idea, because if I tell him that, and if I tell him that's his fate, then he might be able to change his fate, then break the cycle, and then that'll be the first butterfly flap, and then that'll lead to the big cycle breaking. And so she's like, all right, bet. And so then she erases, so everyone whose life he's touched, they no longer remember him. But because, like, she's just the god of the past, she's not the god of time like Kronos is. So if Kronos ever sees Apophis again, but he's now called a Pep because he's been born anew, and he's like, if Kronos ever sees him again, then like everything will come back and everyone will remember. And so yeah, she takes Apophis and she erases everyone's memories, and he becomes a Pep. And so she started that off now. Now she needs to die, because she needs to be there when Sethi dies in order to bring them back to life. And to do that, because she's a vessel, she needs the greatsword. Just so happens to be, and she just so happens to be the person who hid that greatsword. So she knows where it will be. And so this is where Mortem comes in. He's just a normal guy. You can call him the fateless boy. He's insignificant. He has no cycle, because his little life he'd just live life and do nothing significant. And so he's this fateless boy. He's insignificant. He's in the wrong place at the wrong time. So what the maiden does is she needs to get stabbed by this great sword. But you know, if you were walking in the woods where this great sword is, you find this woman saying, "Oh, stab me with this sword," you're probably not going to be. You're going to be like, "What? No, that's bad. I'm not going to do that." So what she does is she disguises herself as this big, massive monster. Because if you're being attacked by this big, massive monster, you'll pull this sword out of the ground, you'll stab this monster, because it's attacking you, because it's a threat, it's self-defence, you know. Mortem, here comes Mortem. He's running away. That's not important right now, I don't need to go into that. But his village is burning, and he's running away from his burning village. That's something that's a big part of him. He's got a lot of guilt for abandoning this burning village. But then he runs off into these woods, and he finds his sword, and he's like, ooh, sword in the ground. Let's pull it out. Very smart of him. That's a big part of his character. He's deathly curious. He's curious about things that he really shouldn't be curious about, and he shouldn't be meddling with it, but he meddles anyway, and he asks too many questions. So he pulls this sword out of the ground, and here comes along the maiden, disguised as a massive beast, and he's like, oh god, this big massive rabbit's going to kill me. Ugh! Kills this massive rabbit, and then it turns into, the disguise fades, and turns into the maiden, and he's like, oh my god, I've just killed this woman, what the hell? But it's fine, because she's like, thanks, I wanted that to happen. And that obviously confuses him even more. But, right, so because this great sword is like a lot of death attached to it, and it didn't really affect the White Knight when he wielded it, because he's an angel. He's got like a little bit of God in his blood, so he has an extended lifespan anyway, so he didn't really notice anything. And because he's such a great warrior, he was never really struck, so he never really came across the effects that this great sword has. But this comes across in Mortem, because he's not a warrior. So he finds out, he looks down at his hands, and they're slowly going grey, and slowly all the colour in his body is leaving him, and he finds out, oh my god, I'm dying, I've picked up this cursed blade. And he becomes cursed. He becomes this undead boy because of what he's done. He's killed this god. And so essentially what happens is he can do, like, he takes on a lot of really dangerous jobs, because if he dies, he goes to the underworld for like a minute, and then he comes back and he's alive. And he has to stay at the point where he died, so he doesn't really age. Like any like cut he gets, it heals up to how he was. So he has some bruises that he had on the day that he touched the blade that will just never go away, but he can't get any additional bruises or cuts or whatever. So he's just sort of this undead boy, and he becomes miserable because he can't die, so he just keeps on living. So, you know, all the people he tries to make friends with just sort of die, and that's a bit sad. Until he comes along and he meets a Pep, who is also immortal, and so they become very good friends. Hell, maybe even more. Oh no, that's a cycle. It's going to repeat again. Yeah, so what a Pep has to do is break this cycle. He has to choose the third option. Hello there, this is Hemo recording inside a house, so you'll no longer hear seagulls and the wind and other people and me walking, and so hopefully the audio quality is a little bit better. This is something I wanted to bring up last video, but I forgot because I am an idiot. You know, ages ago you all made these really cool, described it as like an art challenge or something. You all made these really cool like angel or demon OCs. Like, obviously, because you've watched that last video, you'll know that like a lot has changed since then. So maybe the initial ideas that you had when you designed these characters has changed, and they like no longer really fit with the changes I've made to the world anymore. But they're still like really cool. And also I've been thinking, like, you know, because you lot made them, but it's my world, so like, what's going on there? So I've been thinking, like, what do you want to do with them? Because I'll like, if you don't really care about them anymore, I'll happily take them. They're really cool. They're cooler than the shit I come up with. So yeah, I've been thinking, because like you could do like a thing of like, well, if you want them back, you can have them back. But if you don't want them, like, I'll have them. I'd love to have them. They're lovely. Like, yeah, they've got really cute designs and everything. So I don't know what you lot think. But yeah, they're really cool, and I'd love to have them. I'm repeating myself. I'm going to shut up now. Thank you for indulging me. You're all really cool, and thank you for listening to me ramble again.